This is from I Tears with another episode of Talking Mortal. Brought here guested by ClutchCasters. You can find a lot of his content on Twitch TV. How's it going?
Going pretty good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you for asking. So, I really wanted to bring you on today because I know you were testing out the PTR. I caught a little bit of your streams. I see you've been doing that for like the past 3 days straight, just doing PTR testing.
Yeah. I was waiting for the first PTR, and then after that, I was doing some double checking on some of the testing that I was doing.
Yeah, I actually got your content already pulled up here. Saw that you did like a lot of the tests on the pet armor and such. How did that go?
It was actually pretty good at first. We didn't. We thought Tor armor wasn't fixed yet.
Hmm.
Because of the bear armor bug, where it's looking like iron. But one of the people put on reptile on their Tor dog, and then it actually came up. It has reptile armor. So we were like, "Whoa, okay, let's see if it's all armors." So, Neb, one of our content creator GMs that's really close with us, helped basically give me the stats to be able to craft armor. And we went through and we started crafting all sorts of armor and putting them on the tour dogs. And I gotta say, man, they look really good, and I can't wait until they get on the bears.
So, did they fix the bears?
So I think that they messed up the coding somewhere on the bears, but they fixed the coding on the Twars. So I think it's just them trying to fine tune the code or find like that. I've heard, like in coding, man, just an extra space can ruin a whole code. So
Yeah,
maybe that's what they have to go back and find, get it to be enabled.
yeah, because what they have to do is they have to code to attach a certain asset, which is the graphic 3D model of the armor. They have to attach it when X, Y, and Z is met. So yeah, no, that's definitely a possibility that they were just attaching like the steel model for every single type of variant. Um, but reason I ask you that is because according to the update from Mortal, um, they said as of today, this morning, that they fixed the way the armor looks now on bears.
Okay. I haven't gone on the PTR when that happened, because someone did message me saying, "Did you look at the new PTR notes that happened today?"
Yeah.
Because we had other things planned today that I wanted to get done.
Well, actually, speaking of which, how do you feel about the new change for the siege cost for the siege challenge?
Okay, so I'm only a month new to MO2,
Mm-hmm.
so I haven't been able to really get into the whole sieging aspect of the game. When it comes to the costing, I don't know how hard it is to get the 10,000 prominence, I think it said.
Mm-hmm.
Spend. I don't know how hard it is to gather that. I think the gold's pretty much finite. I think that's very easy for a guild to get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when it comes to the 10,000 prominence, you have knowledge on how hard or easy it would be to get 10,000?
Let's just do an example. I actually grinded out two clades in Rise Your GK in a day. We're
And how
talking
much
at
you
like the
paid for
level
those?
18 to 20, and
All right, and how much are those?
that's around 18,000 prom per clade average. I want to say it's about 18,000
Okay.
prom per clade.
Okay. And did how long did it take you?
About a day.
About a day?
But only about half a day. I only played for a couple hours. I was just grinding the dungeon out constantly, right? And then
Yeah.
fighting Nightfall or anybody else who would come in there.
Hmm.
But then, of course, I find that other guilds definitely would find it difficult to get that type of prom. One of the guilds I was in originally when I first started this game had a very big issue of getting prom. They actually hired a prom farmer who sat
Oh,
in the jungle and just killed satyrs all day long. So I don't know. I think it's more of just like a if you know how kind of situation. if you know like the best way to farm prom and what I mean.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So it could be relatively easy
Yeah,
to get it going.
it could be definitely easy to attain. So my personal opinion on this right now, maybe the gold price needs to go up. I'm okay with the prom price at 10,000 personally. I think that's easy to grind out as a guild. But I definitely think the price of gold could be a little higher since gold is kind of an abundance in this game. A lot of
That
veterans
is,
have
yes,
a huge abundance of gold, and 500 gold is really nothing when you think about it in that sense. And I think it would lead to larger sieges, more organization, if we raise the gold price from 500 to say 1,000. But of course, I think that Henrik wants to make it probably more accessible to a lot of the guilds out here. So maybe
maybe
that's
the
why.
smaller guilds.
Right, because I think it definitely might be a little bit more difficult to the newer players that play this game and say they want to siege their enemy out of the area. Granted, they probably won't, but there's always that optimism, right?
Yes, yes. I think it'd be nice to see like some of the smaller guilds start to get into like the little politics without like trying to alliance more so with the bigger guilds.
Okay.
I think that's something interesting to kind of see with that.
Yeah, yeah. So on that topic, then you say a small guild should kind of what do their own thing, align with other smaller guilds, avoid the larger groups.
Personally, I think see that's the thing with the MO is you can really do anything. If you want to be that small guild that thinks they can take someone large,
Mm-hmm.
just I'm gonna use Kodo just for an example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they could try, right? I mean, they could do these little uh warfare tactics, the hit and run type of thing. Get a couple of them while they were, and then dip out before the reinforcements come, basically.
Gotcha.
And it's something they could do. Now, are they going to be able to siege their keeps? No, I don't think they would be able to.
Right.
Could they have multiple small guilds maybe act and siege them? I still don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But could they do damage to certain buildings? I think, and I think that's where they're at. They're just doing little pickings. They're just being a nuisance. I think is what smaller guilds are more would be more accustomed to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So, do you think, with that in mind, the 500 gold, 10,000 prime is suitable for like a size that fits all? Do you think it should be cheaper? Do you think that should be higher?
I think it should be higher, honestly, but part of me feels for the small guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but how hard is it really to get 500 gold? And the thing is, I mean, you do one bandit task, that's usually 5 to 13 gold.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think. If you go into the dungeon and you're uncontested, you can walk out with a couple hundred.
Right. No, for sure.
So, like, part of me thinks like if you're brand new, I don't think you should be focusing on sieging. So I do think it should be increased to probably about 1,000. I think
No,
minimum.
you brought a very good point on. I mean, it's definitely more end game content. So you
Yeah.
brought, yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. It should probably go higher. That was just from my perspective. And I noticed something on here as well that actually caught my eye was reduced build repair by 25%. So you know how a lot of guilds, when they get sieged, they'll sit inside the middle of their stronghold and just repair and spam repair with engineer level, right? 100?
I've heard of that. Yes, I've
Right.
heard of.
So I think that's going to be pretty game changing. But the only part I see that could be a problem with that is the smaller guilds getting picked on by the large guilds, because they can't just run outside and attempt to take on a large group of people with a small amount, right?
Yeah.
And expect a success. So no, I definitely feel that it's going to be an interesting situation for those type of situations where there's small versus large groups sieging. Um, I did like how they fixed a couple other things on here. Let's go actually back to the PTR notes right
Can I
here.
put a point on that
Sure, go
about the
ahead.
smaller guild? I think personally, as much as I hate saying this, I don't think the smaller guilds should be in a position to quote unquote own such large things if they don't have the backing, right? I mean, if you even think in history, just because you have a small force, you're not going to own all these castles. You're too thin. You either one ally yourself with many others, merge,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote vassals in a
Mm-hmm.
sense. I, so the people that will own keeps are the people that have the power to hold them and to keep holding them until somebody of equal or better skill set comes along and is able to take them.
No, sure, for sure. Well, no, I'm talking about like, let's just do an example. There's a three-man guild I know that just started this game, and they already own a tier three stronghold in the Central Steps area, right?
Oh,
I'm talking about, let's just say there's a large group in the area that decides we don't want them in our area. Let's pay the 500 gold, 10,000 prom, and siege them out. Right, that's easy to afford. Um, but now they can't sit in there and spam repair with three max level engineers, right? Let's just say they.
yeah.
That's an example, right? I doubt they have max engineering, but let's just say that's an example. They probably can't sit in there now and max spam repair, because you gotta also think about they're gonna be hit with Ossers, so they're gonna have to move. People might try and jump in through the windows, depending on how noob they actually are, right? They don't. They might not have their windows covered up. There's all sorts of things that could occur, right? So what I'm saying basically, do you think that the fact that there's going to be a 25% reduced build repair nerf be a big change and affect the smaller guilds a lot more than you see where I'm kind of going with that?
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. And I guess that's where smaller guilds now need to play politics, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have to go to these larger places and ask for permission to settle down there. Because I placed a little farming house down in the southern Sunken Isles,
Mm-hmm.
but I went to Slab and I was like, "Hey, man, I am ally or I'm in Black End, uh, and I was wondering, hey, if I could place a house down here." So I can, get my reptile and get my satyrs, stuff like that. And they were okay with it. And they actually said, "Thank you for asking." And I think people need to be more like, "Hey, this is the force that is dominating this area, or at least quote unquote has it.
Right.
So show some respect, ask them, and I think they'll be more than likely okay with it. Or maybe they want to, go out on a run with you or something to see if you're people that they're okay with. I think that needs to be more.
Right, for sure. So are you saying that maybe the smaller guilds should more focus on politics so that they can avoid a situation like that?
I don't think they should go hardcore into politics, but I think they should be respectful to the fact that you are sadly stepping into a territory that is owned by a larger, a larger force. I believe you should at least ask permission. I think that's where it is. Like, hey, we like this area. Would you be willing to let us settle here? And then it kind of starts with that, right? It
Right.
always starts with a conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate that. That's actually a huge perspective, and I really do appreciate that because everyone obviously has their own idea about how things should be run, and I think that definitely, I think, brings perspective for others, that are starting out into this game because we definitely do have a lot of new players, right? And they start in
Hmm.
their own little guilds and such, their own little cliques. And I think you bring up a very good point. If you don't want to get fucked up, probably a good idea to reach out to whoever kind of runs the area, um, kind of figure out the politics in that area. You know?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, if you're maybe your guild that doesn't really want a PvP, bring that up to the people that you want to settle near and be like, hey, this is how we kind of want to play.
Hmm.
These are the people we want to recruit, so they get an understanding of what you're like.
Right.
And if they catch you being little rats, well, listen, maybe it's time to evict you.
100%. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. But hey, I don't want to go off topic, obviously, because we definitely want to cover the PTR as much as we can with the
Yep.
limited time we have. Uh, so you test out Tor, you play with the bear armor. There's still no visual changes on bear when last you checked. Of
Yes.
course, with the recent update this morning, they apparently did change the textures to show what they appropriately were supposed to be for the armor. So I think that's going to be a huge plus for at least the just the visuals, the immersion in the game.
Hmm.
As for, I noticed that you were bear lancing a lot. I did have a question about that. How effective was that bear lancing?
Okay. I was actually not bear lancing. I did it once, but
Okay,
I went cougar lancing.
that's what it was. Cougar lancing. Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So we found out that cougars have a gear 3 speed
Hmm.
of 850, which is basically a Jotun's horse
Hmm.
gear 3. But its tier 4 is 1175. That's faster than a black bear.
So just fast as shit, right?
Yeah, it's fast as fudge, man. I'm like, oh my God, this it's so fun to ride around on.
So did you guys figure out the speed differences with the Panther, the Cougar, and the Tor?
Yep, yep. I can pull up some stats on something real quick for you if you need me to.
Well, without looking, which one was the fastest? Which one had the most
Cougar.
Cougar? And then
Yep.
which one had the best stamina management?
Stamina management that might have been Panther, but I can't, let me double check. I like it's right here. Here we go. I believe the Ryzen Panther had 800 stam. The Ryzen Cougar had 700 stam, and the Ryzen Tour Dog had 960 stam.
Okay. And what was the regeneration like on that? Just out of curiosity.
I feel like it. Okay, so the thing about the Cougars and the Panthers
Hmm.
is if you're a big rider, you're actually gonna overweigh and you're gonna make the regeneration horrible.
Right.
So you cannot have weight like I think it's over 110. You got to be a pretty small stature kind of thing. I think they're aimed more towards mages, to be honest, or archers, because under that the stam was pretty okay. We did some testing with the cougar,
Hmm.
um, against a mongrel horse, or not a mongrel, a steppe.
Okay.
I was able to stay up with the steppe, switching between 3 and 4 gear, and it was working very well. I think the cougars are going to turn into mage earthquaking mages pets.
Really? Okay. Because
Yes.
I kind of had an idea that they wouldn't be as popular as people think they might be, just because they've been known to be more of just like, you know, attack dogs, animals, right?
Hmm.
Attack pets, chase down, whatever, right? But obviously wasn't the cougar. What's the other cat? The
Panther.
lynx. The lynx.
Oh, the lynx.
That's definitely the best in terms of attacking, setting an attack on a mage, right, or something like that. And it's fast as shit, right? Probably the fastest pet for attacking.
Okay.
Um, on your perspective, though, considering what I just said, do you like? How would I word this? Well, actually, let's change the question. Do you think it'll be still as viable to have a mounted cougar or panther or tour dog versus the bears or any of the other mounteds in the game? Do you think it'll actually be viable? Because it's still going to have relatively a low health pool, right?
I think okay, so I think so this is the great thing about Mortal Online, right? Is the options and the situations. I think footies and archers are more likely to use the black bear and the brown bears, but I think the mages, depending on if they have earthquake or not, are going to use the panthers and cougars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where the tour dogs actually fit. because I don't have that much knowledge on it, but
Right.
I really, really think a lot of mages that have Earthquake are going to be used in the Cougars.
No, 100%. Okay, fair enough. Um,
They're
okay.
very small and you can't really hit them, especially if you only leave them at level 99
Right.
before they grow. Oof. They're fast and quick. It's you're not gonna really be able to peg them with an arrow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're saying that there's definitely going to be a variety of ways that can be played with it, and it's a matter of just testing.
Yeah, I think people just need to kind of like play around with it because I mean these are three new mounts coming in.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, for all we know, we could find out that the Tor, the Panther is just completely useless, or even the Cougar. Maybe
Right.
maybe there's a very good counter to it that I don't have the knowledge to.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, I do think they will. I think it's going to change the gameplay to a more mounted combat type of play now.
Oh yeah. No.
Eh,
100%.
And then the footies will stay in like the dungeons type thing, or like the camps or the POIs.
Right. Right. No, I definitely think it's turning into more of a beast mastery kind of game loop at the moment, with all the changes to that and
Yeah.
buffs to the beast mastery. It's only probably going to be a matter of time before we're going to have mounted Campadon riders.
You know what? I would love to see a couple like archers on top of Campadons. Give me some Sparta look in there.
Or it reminds me of Lord of the Rings, in the Return of the King
Oh,
when they had,
yep.
yep, they're riding those, yep, the elephants. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty badass. But I'm also would be afraid to fight that, just because you're going to be so high off the ground with a full-grown Campo.
Oh yeah.
You can't really hit some like knock them off with a hammer, right? It'd be more of like target. You'd have to probably target the Campo first. So I don't know if that they would make that mounted personally. What are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I wanna. Part of me wants to see it mounted, but I kind of like them more as a kind of like the siege carrier. You know what I mean?
Right.
Put some Augie armor on them and get things done.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be cool if it does it, but am I like really excited about it? Not so much.
Well, I am happy to see that they did at least include the new mounts into the Risen versions, for mountables as well. It does look like they fixed some bugs with the ritual pets, which is huge. Did notice that, as we're talking about Campos, go fucking figure. They fixed a couple of those quality of life things with the Campos, with the Risen version as well, icons, etc. This was kind of a funny change, increasing the weight capacity of domestic pigs. Some people like to meme out and have mounted pig mounts.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna see more of that. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I would love
personally,
to. I would love to see more of that.
I would love to too. I think it's like Mortal Online's little meme thing. I think they should run with it.
Yep. Yep. No, 100%. It is. It's always funny to see that shit going on. I love it. I noticed this was a thing that I actually never knew about. Fixed wrong textures on Riser Berserker Cape when equipped on a female character. So just another quality of life.
Hmm.
The siege thing, we're back to that. I didn't really like. I mean, I'm happy they did it. We're more or less just got to see how it actually works. I know you got to play in that siege, which
Yes.
looked pretty badass with the footage you got, actually. So again, make sure to check that out on ClutchCasters Twitch channel. It's pretty badass content, honestly. I liked how you kind of played the news reporter on that, just like you did with today's siege. Um,
Yeah.
Even though some dickheads were still hitting you on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, they got to get their 5 minutes of fame.
Um, so, did you actually get to see how the challenge looks?
No, sadly, I wasn't. I think Odin Seed got to see it. Neb sent out a war deck to them, and then I think they just increased the time really quickly. Instead of
Okay.
it being like 48 hours, it was like, like I don't know, a minute or two or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So sadly, I wasn't able to check it out, but they said that it seems like it's working properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to take their word for it.
Okay. Fair enough. I did like this. Can we send maximum of 10 siege at a time? I think it should be less, to be honest. I do like that there is a max, but I feel like there should be less because what happens if someone just keeps sending you challenges to spam you and just annoy the shit out of you, right? Because
Yeah.
eventually, I feel like if the same guild hit you with a challenge 10 times, let's just say they used the whole 10 maximum challenges, and they didn't come after you at all during that, like those 10 open windows, right? And then eventually they did finally come after you, and you weren't even there. You weren't prepared. You're just like, fuck it, right? We're not going to wait around for these guys. They're not going to come, right? And then you're defenseless. How do you feel about that?
So I'm kind of on the fence, right? Because like I agree with what you said, right? You could just quote unquote just be annoying, just send them their sieges and never show up.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to be there just in case.
Right.
You don't have to do anything, but you wasted your 10,000 prominence per siege. You wasted your 2,000 or 200 gold per siege, and it's nothing to you.
Right, exactly.
Um,
That's why I'm saying like maybe the price of the
yeah,
siege should. We're back to that, right? We're back to that part.
yeah,
Maybe we should raise the price of it if you're going to make a maximum of 10 challenges. Maybe we
yeah.
should raise the price to 1,000 gold. 10,000 prom, I think, is a very good number. Like I said, there's some guilds out there that are going to struggle with getting that prom. Obviously, there's others that won't. Example: Odin Seed with Middle Dungeon, right? That's
Yeah.
huge prom farm. Um, Nightfall, who prominently owns GK Riser, right?
Hmm.
They probably have crazy prom, right? I do know that Odin Seed though does have a lot of structures, so I don't know if they are just keeping up with the prom usage, vice versa, But it's a prom farm for them, right? So,
Yeah.
and gold farm as well, so it goes hand in hand. But
True.
again, then we're talking about the smaller guilds. We're back to that smaller guild aspect. But maybe it's something that smaller guilds, like we even did talk about, shouldn't even bother with, considering it's kind of end game content. And obviously, it's not something you should do with 3 people. You definitely probably want to be
Hmm.
doing something shit like that when you have at least like a decent number of people, like 20 minimum kind of thing. So then we're also back to that again. Maybe we should just raise the fucking price so that we avoid people spamming each other. Because it's 1,000 gold isn't going to hurt the bank for a lot of people, but it's also not something people want to toss at for a siege and then just not participate in a siege, right?
I do agree with that, but part of me also thinks on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they added this because it's that you're using those to make the guys think, oh, is it today or is it tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think it might be used to, let's say, we decide to put a siege on Kodo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's also put a siege on their alliances, right? On the same day where
Mm-hmm.
they all have to pick a thing, and then they have to decide where we are going. So, you kind of use it like you use it as like a blanket coverage, and they're all protecting their own stuff, but they're not, they don't know who you're actually going to hit. So it's kind of like maybe a tactic that maybe they implemented
Okay.
to allow us to kind of do things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Fair. Fair.
But ultimately, I do think it will be more used as an abuse thing because that's kind of like what our community does do, sadly.
Right, right. I mean, if it can be exploited, we can probably assume it's going to be exploited, right? And
Yeah.
it goes for any game, to be honest. If something is easily accessible to be exploited, it's definitely going to be fucking exploited. I am happy they changed it from 200 gold to 500 gold at least, with the additional
Yeah.
10,000 prom, because I feel like you're going to have those broke ass griefer guilds that are going to get 200 gold and then just spam people just to annoy them, right? Because if you think about it, you're going to get a challenge and you're probably going to stay online protecting your assets all day long for during that window, right? The siege open siege window, and then no one comes, and you just wasted 6 hours of your life, right? And I feel like there will be some griefers that will do that just to waste people's time. Um, and then eventually, like I said, if they get enough challenges from a guild that just does not show up, it's most likely that they're just going to completely stop, just paying any attention or giving a shit.
Yeah, I kind of think actually they'll probably just leave like a few people on, right? They'll have their characters, especially with the second character slots coming out. Maybe they leave their second character geared up, ready, and they just get on their other character and kind of go do things, and they just leave a couple people, to switch out,
Right.
and maybe they call it in, and it's easy for them to switch back to those characters and get ready for the actual siege.
No, 100%. 100%. So about second characters, actually, I saw that you did actually get to do that a bit. Let's
Yes.
find that shit. I see we have a fucking... Is that Jedi? Yeah, it's a Jedi.
Yes. Looks so nice.
Look at you, creating notes. What a good little streamer.
Yep.
It's Henrik's beautiful face.
Oh god, yeah.
Look at these guys, their Ogmium armor flexing. Dude, where's
Yeah.
that? Where's that content? I swear to God, you were playing on the second character.
I was, but I think it was during while
Oh, here
Henrik
we go.
was, oh no, you found it? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
Oh.
the beginning of the stream. I like how you had ending the stream.
So I forgot to change it before I started.
Okay, so I thought this shit was sick. I saw this, and then you have the second character slot that like is side by side. I thought that was actually
Yes.
sick. And then I noticed that was kind of weird. It said changing server. So when I saw that, it made me think about the whole. So there was something that Demo Man was discussing on the podcast last week about keeping servers legacy and creating a second server set for North America. Again, it's a gamble, right? But it's something I feel like a lot of people might want on the game. But it's just perspective, right? So, because it might kill the game as well. I wonder what that's all about. Does that mean that they're changing the server for the character data, right? Because you switch to a different character model, as you're doing right now on the screen, or are you changing? Is it a preset for future servers that it will be accessible by players like ourselves? I'm just
Actually,
yeah.
what it's doing is it's switching us to the Haven servers.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is actually. We found out during this PTR test that I didn't know, but GMs have a very hard time
Mm-hmm.
teleporting to Haven servers because there's multi-instance Haven servers.
Oh no shit.
Yes. So that whole thing that's basically what it was. You when you're transferring servers, you're transferring between Haven servers and then the live main server.
Okay. That makes more sense. And it makes more sense because Henrik was talking about with future patches the big new player patch. I don't know if you saw him discussing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make sense because they're going to try and make Haven free to play for new players.
Yes.
So it being on its own dedicated server would definitely make sense so that they can make that server specifically free to play. So no, that entirely makes that's so fucking badass, man. Look at that. And wait until your characters are both geared up and shit. That's gonna be so fire. That shit's gonna be so fire.
It's gonna be dope.
Right. I mean, your character on the right's ugly as shit. You need to put more time into that one, my friend.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to make it real quick. Just do some testing. Listen, I can't get excited just yet, man. We got another week, maybe 2 weeks before it goes live.
Yeah, I am super fucking happy to see that they actually did change up. Well, it wasn't really a change up, but they patched the PTR with another patch to fix bugs, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen them patch a PTR to ensure that it was less buggy upon full release. So I thought that was fucking sick.
I want to give them props for that, to be honest. I think they did amazing with that. Like that I know there's a lot of, haters in our community,
Hmm.
but I mean, to people like me, that shows me, hey, they're trying.
Oh yeah,
They're
100%.
they are trying.
Oh yeah,
And that's something that shows me like, hey, I'm up for it. I'm here.
yeah. I definitely appreciate that Star Vault has definitely changed their pace of updates comparison to pre-sub, right?
Yeah.
Pre-sub, they were getting updates, very drawn out updates, right? Now it's kind of like back to back with a lot more contact with
Hmm.
the game dev team. Well, more Henrik than anything. Um,
Yeah.
I think that he's become a very appealing developer to a lot of new players looking to play into the game.
Yeah.
The game's definitely in a much better state than it was, obviously, even a couple months ago, right? Um, the changes they're making are from being like hearing what the community has to say, the feedback. Um, I think that the game life has kind of been reborn in a sense. When I say that, it's because not only are we getting more updates, we're getting content that the community is actually wanting, right? Like
True.
the when Messler's Vault came out, the second dungeon, we
Hmm.
had it was a huge quality of life patch, right? Things that people have been wanting and like begging to get patched for a long time, just to have a better immersion experience into the game, right? And obviously we're still doing that. Like look at like I mean it might not seem like a quality of life to some people, but like supply towers no longer provide guild defense. I think that's been a big one for a lot of people. Just like the global
Less waiting
defense.
around. Yeah.
Right, right. And I mean the whole tower taking game loop was such a shitty game loop because you would just spend hours taking towers to either boost your defense up or reduce somebody's defense, right? And then you got to wait
Yep.
for the defense percentage to tick down, right? And you're doing that for hours, just taking towers, right? Building, tearing down, building, tearing down. It was a very boring game loop. I was part of that for a while, and it burns people out. So I think that it's
Hmm.
huge that now it's actually going to be used for supply for guilds, and I'm sure that we'll still see a lot of combat around those towers
Yeah.
for a lot of like the guilds that bash heads with each other, wanting
Yeah.
because it's easy problem. You don't need to go transport
No, you
supply
don't.
to the
Especially if you
cities.
own a couple towers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly, exactly. So example, Unbroken, who owns two fucking keeps in the southeast, right? They could just take old towers in the area. There's no absolute reason why there should be really any other guild in the area looking for supply when Unbroken literally, in my personal opinion, controls the whole area, right?
Right.
I know they have the T Alliance down there, and that's a coalition of all the various guilds down there. But like I mean, let's just be honest. Unbroken is the major power down there. Unbroken could literally snap any guild that enter that area by themselves, right? Um, and that's a personal opinion, right? That's a personal
Yeah.
opinion. Um, what are your thoughts on the supply changes?
I I personally think it is a welcoming change. Now, again, this is coming from someone that has little experience with the tower fights, but we did it once when I was with Blackhand and we were trying to take Mythic's Keep.
Mm-hmm.
And going after those towers all for like 24, 48 hours to make sure the defenses are ticking down. And when they take it back, it's going to tick up a little bit more. Then you have to take it back and wait more because it's every tick every half hour.
Right.
And that I think that can be pretty daunting. So now it's more for fun if you want those extra supplies. And I think that's something that needs to be done. That's something that's nice. I'm thinking with those towers, what else can they do? You know, to make the towers still fun. It's like the small little PvP you get to have.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But then I have a question about that. So I know you legitimately said earlier, what was it? Oh shit, man, I'm all over the fucking place right now. Let's ask a different question. Maybe it'll come back to me.
All
What are
right,
your
yeah, no problem, man.
thoughts on Henrik's changing of, or not changing, addition of multiple POIs to the areas less traveled, right, he mentioned that he wanted to add POIs to areas, node lines that are less traversed, less active, right? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's a bad thing? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a I, but I also don't know if it's a good thing because I think what the POI is
Mm-hmm.
and what it has to offer is what makes that area become more populated.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's just a small bandit camp that's away from, like, it's in the middle of nowhere, nowhere near a town,
Mm-hmm.
why would somebody with a task that wants to go to bandit go do that bandit camp? So,
Right.
I mean, if they add in, like, maybe, uh, let's use an existence, the vault, right? The guys inside the vault,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they set up a bandit camp that's somewhat, or a camp that's somewhere close to that dungeon,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on the south side of the mountain. That'd be interesting.
Well, the reason I'm really asking that is because if we add too many POIs to the game on a personal level, won't we have to spread out the player base? And won't that mean there are going to be less confrontations between players if everyone's spread out everywhere? You know, like eventually you're going to have coalition. Well, I mean, it's kind of already the situation. Coalition literally runs the vaults, right? Then
Yeah.
you have, I mean, at the moment, for what I've seen, it's been Carney, Terran Hall CTX, and Undercroft, right? And then you have Nightfall at GK Riser. You have Odin Seed at the Middle Dungeon. Um, I just I don't know. I mean, you have Tiang
I
Ming in the Necro Dungeon. Eventually, with all these dungeons that are coming out, they're all going to be controlled by different guilds, right? And they're going to be
hmm
spread out and then just farming their dungeons, and then maybe occasionally going to war with one another, depending on how the politics turn out, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
I think
What are your thoughts?
so. I kind of understand I think where you're coming from. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so why would another guild go to a different dungeon when they have their own dungeon, basically? But I think this is where like the small players, the small guilds kind of come into hand, right? They're going to be the ones that populate that guild's dungeon, whether they welcome them or not. And then I think that's where the politics, it's going to be, I think it's a long burn type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's kind of where it needs to be. But also, certain dungeons so far look like they have certain things. So if you want something, you need to go to that dungeon. You want more ring drops, you got to go to the Undercroft. Because I did the Undercroft the first time last night,
Right.
and every mob that we went to dropped at least a couple of uh uh red opal. I don't know what it's called. I call them rubies. um, but like if you go to the vault, they don't drop as much. Like they don't.
Right, right. Well, each dungeon's been designed to drop specific loot, right? So you have Messler's
hmm
Vault. You get a lot of gems, okay? You get a lot of gems. You get the new paintings that you can churn in if you so decide for the new Tindremic attire book, which, in my opinion, is not even worth it. You might as well just keep the furniture and place it in your stronghold or your home, right? Um, but there's a lot of gems in there, and that's used for, you know, there's a variety of uses for gems, mainly necromancy, right? For risen, right? Risen pets. The better the gem, the better performance from your animal, right? For Undercroft, sorry, I call it the Undercrack. Um, it's definitely a trinket-based dungeon. So I killed a mob while scouting for my guild one day, and the first mob I killed, I got a silver ruber. Right, right. We sold it. We made 47,000 gold, and that was that. Right. Um, and we've got a shit ton of rings out of there. That's just an example, right? It's a heavy trinket based dungeon. So everyone that farms the dungeon is going to get the trinkets they want, but you also have to keep in mind there's a shit ton of other people that are competing for those trinkets because it's such a wanted thing in the game is to have, rubers, right? You
Yeah.
want to have a ruber. That's the end game. You want to maximize your build with rubers, right? Or adamants, right? That's totally up to you, obviously, but a ruber is more achievable. Um, And that's now with that dungeon. It's super like 100% achievable. Before it wasn't as achievable because you would have to just wish for the best and kill veterans or go into Riser dungeon like Talus or GK and then hope that they drop. You know.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, I know a lot of people that got Rubers off of Outlaws and Risers. Right, it's all situational based.
Mhm.
It's all RNG. You may have loot rings, loot luck rings. I mean, that's just that at the end of the day. Um, shit, I completely lost myself. Go.
I guess I think I know where you're kind of going with the so that dungeon's good because it gives you the amulets, the trinkets, everything like that. If you think about the vault, it gives you the gems, but I mean it's just gems, right? I mean that's good for maybe ritualism, but the book really isn't worth it. But I mean it looks cool, but I mean on par, which dungeon's better?
Right, right. So there's not really such thing as a better dungeon because there's a specific thing in each one of those dungeons, right? Like I was saying,
Hmm.
there's specific things for each dungeon. So for example, you got Minnow, right? You get the axe, and then you get the scroll. So Odin has achieved something very valuable in the game for in-game monumental purposes is the script, right? That script
Hmm.
goes for a shit ton of money because guess who controls that market?
Odin.
Odin Seed, right? So they've managed to churn an item in a dungeon to cost like normally probably a quarter, maybe even less of what it's actually worth, more than it's should be worth, right? And they're making bank off of that, right? So they're making a money printer based off of that, right?
Hmm.
And that's what that dungeon does. And that axe gives you access to the book for the Draco armor, right? So there's all these variety of things. Same goes with the Satyr dungeon. The a vessel gives you another scroll, right? Specific scrolls that you need to do specific, um, you know, classes of magic, right?
Right.
And then you have Necro, which offers different things that go towards necromancy, right? Henrik was saying that he's going to improve the loot tables with the pre-existing dungeons, right? I don't think Riser GK would need a buff because it already drops the weapon crafter books, which
Yep.
Nightfall controls the price on
Hmm.
and has made those books astronomically expensive.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's a good thing because it brings more players to go to GK if you're a weapon crafter or need to get a specific Riser book for that type, right? Because obviously Riser books, in my opinion, are some of the best weapons that you can get, right, for specific things. Um, so no, I think that the way it's set up right now is great. Some of the dungeons, like the Satyr dungeon, definitely need to be improved upon for loot tables so that more people, actually venture into them. I'm sure that there are some guilds that venture into them, but they're not going to see much content in terms of PvP because who's actually going to want to go there to get the scroll besides, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
there's much reason to go there with there's just a simple scroll that I think you can even buy on the market for like 100 gold. Like I said,
Yeah.
that's really nothing, especially with the task system the way it is. That's absolutely nothing, right? You can make that in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Same thing kind of goes for the Tindrimic attire book. That book is technically like 50, 60 gold, and I think there people are selling it for like 100 on the market. That's like nothing, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people could just buy that book on a whim. I think that Coalition could control that dungeon into a part where they can stop from people from trading that book in, or they get the book, and maybe boosting the price on the book, and that would be a very difficult task, just considering the circumstances. But I do think Coalition does a good job of regulating that dungeon. Though they are very highly contested, obviously that's because it's the newest dungeon. So only time will tell if in the future that will just become a Coalition only situation, right? What are your thoughts on that?
So, personally, I don't think that even if Kodo kind of like shut it down and tried to raise the price on the book, it
Mm-hmm.
would go up because one, the paintings are actually relatively
Shit.
the cheap because they drop a lot.
Right.
You know, you only need 5 wooden paintings, and you can get that in a run.
Right. But here's the thing, though. Once the dungeon dies down, right? Not many people are going to keep traversing that dungeon, since there's going to be the new dungeon coming out, which we're going to get into in a second here. But the new dungeon, right? Messler's Vault. Eventually, it will become more coalition-based guilds in there, right? So, like, let's just do
Mhm.
an example. Odin Seed, right? When they do Minnow Dungeon, they control that dungeon. They get pings on whenever someone enters that dungeon, right? So I remember while I was watching on Rob's stream, they stopped Levia from exiting that dungeon completely with the scroll, right? They absolutely just dominated them, but they waited for them at the exit, right? I think Kodo could eventually be that guild that does the exact same thing, stopping anyone from leaving the dungeon in the first place with the paintings, right? They could
Yeah.
essentially regulate who comes and goes, just like Odin Seed regulates who comes and goes from Minnow. You see what I'm saying?
But you also got like, okay, so the draconic armor is more valuable than the Tendrimic armor because it's not the greatest, but it does look good. I will say that
Right.
I do like
Cosmetically
the look.
appealing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cosmetically appealing, but should mages really be using that? Or are we going to be using you know, keeled medium armor basically?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
So that's the only
yeah.
reason why I'm like, I don't think Kodo really got the dungeon for that, but they got the gems to kind of. It's not like a passive thing. You get it from the boss. Oh, I forgot. The boss drops the golden tome. That's their thing.
Right. Right. And you could probably have like a coalition guild just sit there at the the invisible wall, and then
Yes.
just guard it, safeguard that dungeon, and then farm it. Right.
Yep.
So I mean that's another option. You bring up a freaking really good point right there. They can just sit that shit and then just camp that bitch all day long, right?
Yep. I totally forgot about the golden tome.
Yeah,
That's their moneymaker right there.
yeah. You've actually made me just remember that too.
That and the banner too, because the banner is technically a cape.
Oh yeah, that banner is huge money, right? That thing is
Yep.
huge money. Yeah, I think that they could definitely guard that dungeon, at least the boss, right? I don't think
Yeah.
it'd be super profitable to stop people from regulating the paintings that you mention it.
Yep.
Obviously, it's something that they could do, and I think they have the manpower to regulate who comes and goes from that dungeon. I think they've proven that. But no, you bring up a huge point. It'd be a lot easier to regulate that area as long as you sit outside the boss room through that invisible or that transparent wall, right? You could definitely just check and regulate who comes and goes. But then it's also
Mhm.
the point of, do you want to sit there all day long, or would you rather just get the ping and meet them at the exit, right?
Yeah.
There's also
They-
that to kind of think about as well.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I mean honestly, now that I think about it, I forgot all about the banner and the thing. They 'cause the banner is the commander room is very close to the boss's room. It's only just a few rooms away.
Right.
I think it'd be easy. And with the whole like there's only two entrances or three entrances. I think there's
Two.
two.
There's one on the south and one on the north.
Yeah, I think if they started setting up like a small little village on the south side to stop basically Carney and everybody else coming in from that area,
Hmm.
they could. I think they could hold it down. I think they could.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking. I'm interested to see what happens, especially with the new dungeon dropping. Where do you think it's going to be?
So me and my chat, we did some investigating.
Right.
Um, we saw some people ask if we're gonna have a jungle dungeon.
Hmm.
Uh, the last stream, not the most recent stream that Henrik did,
Right.
and he said
Jungle
yes, that
dungeon.
is one of the dungeons. And then this one, someone asked, but he was kind of cryptic. He said yes, and then he kind of said like we planned for the dungeon. He didn't know when someone said, "Are we is the jungle dungeon coming this patch?" So we are. I think me and my chat we are thinking it is going to be in the jungle. That's what we're doing hard. It's jungle. Even though I thought it was going to be next week or the next sprint because of the what the lichens or whatever coming in.
Like it, yeah, like Yaters. So if you look at the sprint, actually, let's go back to that. I hope I know where the fuck I'm going right now on this website. Where is the sprint shit? Is this the roadmap?
Yeah,
No, that's not the roadmap. Is that the roadmap?
I think it's about is where the roadmap is.
Oh, that's a count. Oh yeah, roadmap isn't about. You are so right, my friend. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, yeah. So there is okay, here we go. Dungeon and then another dungeon with the Lycator, right? And then there's gonna be a new task system with another performance update, so quality of life with the new Unreal Engine. Then we get another mount in Sprint 4 with combat abilities, which I'm not looking forward to. We're gonna see how that goes. I'm looking forward to the veteran system. I think that's gonna be badass. This is obviously the Sprint 2 is obviously the patch that everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah.
I think everyone's been waiting for a second character slot for a long time. It's a shame that the housing system is linked, but then I also see why it's not linked, or why it's linked, because it would be just too many fucking houses in the future.
Oh yeah, good pop.
God willing that... Fuck you. God willing that a lot of players join this game, right, as the community grows. Hoping that happens. It does make sense why there can only be one house per account. But like I said, granted, there are a lot of fucking players out there with like 10 accounts who literally just build a house and never log into that character ever again and unsub the character, right? That's something that's unavoidable. It's just going to be part of the game, and it's going to be exploited, as we mentioned.
Yep.
But hey, it is what it is. But yeah, we got 2 more dungeons coming, so it's possible. I do think that the jungle is going to be the next one, because on Henrik's stream, he did say the jungle. Oh, I mean dungeon. He actually corrected himself. He said that on his last podcast. He actually did mention the word jungle, and then he corrected himself by saying dungeon. So obviously, it's going to either be this patch or sprint, or the next sprint, we're going to see the dungeon in the jungle.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of which sprint are we talking about. But since he did mention it on this most recent, Q&A, I'm assuming you and your stream is absolutely correct. It is going to be in the jungle. I'm assuming, personally, it's going to be in the probably southeast part of the jungle. Because I don't know if you knew, but there is actually a large no-build area in the jungle. Let's actually get that pulled up here.
I actually didn't know that. I can't wait to see this.
And I'm using Bing because I get points, okay? So don't judge me. Let's see here. Okay, so it's about over here. Oh shit. Okay, so about where my cursor is in this general area, it's a no build zone right here. So you got Unbroken Keep, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Unbroken Village, which is about this square here. And then south of this, you keep going along, there's a jungle horse spawn about here. And then there's absolutely no more houses spanning down and no buildings at all. This whole area is a no build zone. There's a salvia spawn in the jungle down here. And it's not really a jungle, it's still the cliffs. Part of Unbroken's like mountain that they live on over here. And then there's the false jungle over here. And then over in this corner over here, it also continues to be a no build zone. So there's the ramp that goes beside the Noble One's village over here that goes into the false jungle. And then you have a bunch of other various guilds in the jungle, like Dauntless and things like that, Imperial Dreams. The further you travel in the false jungle, though, it becomes a no-build zone, along with that southern part of Unbroken's mountain, or mound, or whatever you want to call it. So I have a feeling it's going to be roughly in that area that we're going to see this dungeon appear. I could be entirely wrong. It's just speculation because it's a no-build zone. Why the fuck would it be a no-build zone in the first place? Oh, what's up? Okay. But yeah, that's just my idea and thoughts on that. What are your thoughts? What are your speculations?
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't know because the Seder dungeon's in the middle, right, of the jungle, like the southern middle.
Right, right here.
So wherever they give it, right? If they give it on the west side,
Right.
it's gonna be Sav. If they give it on the east side, it's most likely gonna be Broken Tribe, stuff like that.
Right. So you
Um,
got the tribe over here. You got kind of like a no man's land over here. This area is always being fought over, from what I've seen. But you got artisans in this area as well, which own the keep, and then you have Slav in the bottom corner over there, right? Um,
you know
I
what I'd actually like to see?
what's that?
The dungeon going into one of the world trees.
That'd actually be pretty badass. So he did
Yeah.
say that there's going to be a huge twist, or a big twist. Let me just requote that. There will be a big twist with the new dungeon. Um, and it's supposed to be more difficult. I don't know what he meant by that, but he said, I quote,
I think there's
going to
gonna
be
be
more
traps.
difficult. Yeah, I hope there's going to be a puzzle. I hope that there's going to be traps. I hope there's going to be like, you know how, so a necro dungeon, there's an invisible bridge.
Yeah,
There's the,
I've heard of this. I want to do that dungeon.
oh, yeah. You mean you can get to the bridge, but you're going to see Tiang Ming waiting at the other end of the bridge in full steel waiting for you. That's actually exactly what happened to my guild who ran the dungeon not even like last week or something like that. I can't remember. They got all the way to the invisible bridge, and there's Tiang Ming in full steel at the opposite end of the bridge waiting. Um, it doesn't even matter if you know how to get across that bridge, because all they got to do is just shoot shit at you to push you off, right? Because there is a bridge that you can follow. We actually have a map, our guild, and it kind of winds and does all that. But even if you do know how to get it, you still got to deal with the Tian Ming on the other side. And I think even though the T Alliance has destroyed a majority of their assets, I don't think they even care. I don't think they're even phased. They literally, I don't know how they do it. They just know you're always in, like, and whenever anyone enters that dungeon, they will either, if you're solo or a small man group, they'll attack you while you're in the first part of the dungeon. But if you're a large group, they usually do an all call. I don't know how, but they have everyone line up at the other side of the bridge and just wait for your ass. So what will happen with that? I don't know. Are they exploiting? I hope not. Could be possible. Is there
Yeah.
something? Because I know that you can get in through the exits to those dungeons using, specific spells like ice bubble, walls, things like that. There's like
Yeah.
there's like 3 or 4 freaking exits, and I know that there's a cave actually by Toxai. I don't know if you knew this. Over by Toxai, there's a cave that enters into the Necro dungeon exit. Back over here somewhere along the cliffs.
I think I saw someone riding a horse out into the water. I was like, why is he doing that? So he probably was going there.
Yeah, so I don't know like exactly. I haven't done any investigation because I mean I can't be asked. I'm not gonna just run out there and just like go
Right.
explore it because at the end of the day, Tiang Mang's gonna probably be waiting there for me and just murder my ass, right? So would it be good PvP? Not usually, because last time I went in there by myself just to do some like snooping around, literally got sacrificial erupted by a caster with 4 different greater walkers and just instantly died. So it wasn't really much enjoyment. Wasn't really much of a PvP session. It was more of just getting fucking shit on and then
Yeah.
respawning back wherever. So I want to see what's gonna happen with this dungeon. I think that there should be definitely some changes, maybe additional entrances, maybe a change to the bridge, because with the way things are, Tiang Ming literally just owns that dungeon. There's nothing that can be done
Yeah.
about it. I think T Alliance had a very good plan going in to destroy their structures, but I think they're just so damn rich at this point, it doesn't even matter. If they destroy their assets, they just can rebuild. I mean, if you look at some of the auctions for the Necro Dungeon specific items, they're in every single city, and they're going for hella money, right? Even
Oh, yeah.
like the ritual circles, the Tupelak circles, they're going for a shit ton of money. I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think Henrik has a plan. He mentioned a couple things. It's just a matter of just waiting and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I hope honestly, I hope for the best, and all in all, I just hope it's going to be an enjoyable dungeon. And even if it's not, I hope the experience of doing it at least once is worth it.
I think the only way you're going to be experiencing that dungeon is through YouTube.
Yeah, it might be. It might be.
um. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Shit. What was the other thing I was actually gonna? I gotta go back to that news. I completely forgot. There was something on the combat that they updated. Let me see that shit. Where was that?
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
God damn, son.
Yeah.
Okay,
Big
so
ones.
what do you think about this? Increase the quick swap duration from 1 second to 1.4. Did you test it out?
It was very minuscule. If it was in that PTR, it was. I didn't notice it. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, that's all I wanted to hear. That's actually okay. That's cool with me.
I really didn't notice it that much.
Okay,
That bad.
because I know another streamer that's in our community, Dota Kai. He recently made a Vila foot archer.
Oh
And-
yeah, I think I've seen some of his. Or, I haven't seen his streams, but I've seen like when you look on the more online category, and he says he's a foot archer, and I think he switches to like a dagger or something like that.
Yeah. I thought that shit was badass, and I think that's all because of the swap, right? So I'm gonna have to get with him. I think that I wonder if he's gonna see a difference with that because he specifically will get the distance with his Vila, change the bow, and then when they close in with closing that distance, he'll switch the dagger, right? So I'm definitely want to see if that's going to be a super big impact because I got a feeling that this foot archer thing with the swap could be a pretty big game changer
Yeah.
if it continues the way it is, right? I think it's only a matter of time until people kind of figure out their own style of play with the new weapon swap system. I think bows will be utilized a lot more. I think they have been utilized a lot more. I've seen Nightfall kind of implement that as well in their combat.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how much it will change, even with just the millisecond delay. And I thought this other one was pretty badass. I know I made you test it for me, actually. Or charging a melee attack will no longer be interrupted when touching nearby walls. So I thought that personally for me was huge because I use hammers, right? I have had to use the one-handed war club because when I'm in the dungeon, I'll hit the wall when using a two-handed warhammer, right?
Uh-huh.
And now with this, I feel like I could probably just use the two-handed warhammer in the dungeons and not have to worry about colliding with the wall when winding an attack. Of course,
Yeah, I think the widening was the hardest part. Like, but I think it's also a little bit more new player friendly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go in for their first dungeon or their cave or whatever, you're not just bouncing off all the time. It's to help people. Like, hey, okay, you wind up, but if you go to swing, you're gonna hit the wall, and that's not good.
Right. No, for sure. So that's what I'm curious though. I don't know if did you test out when you wind it up and it goes through the wall, will it still hit the wall when you release?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
So you have to rotate your character while you're winding in order to not hit the wall upon release.
Yep, you have to either move or move the character in a way where when the swing happens, the sword does not touch another object.
Okay, fuck yeah. That's really good to know. It'll still be game changing for me, but yeah, I'll be game changing. I think because I would just hate winding an attack and then just getting fucked by wind up, boom, like oh fuck, right? At least I'll be able to repossession myself from the wall before I release. That's cool. Change the charge circle will now be fully filled when your next tent will be a counter.
There's a slight bug with that. It's inconsistent.
Okay, so it's not fully worked out, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not fleshed out, but it is there. I think it's to help new players understand, like, hey, you can swing now.
Okay. No, that's good to know. So it should be something that we probably shouldn't rely on, maybe hopefully during the PTR, it's something that, like you said, gets fleshed out
Yeah, yeah,
properly. Like we said earlier, they did patch the PTR for the first time I've ever
yeah.
seen. So maybe that's something that we'll see continued on this patch, because I think
Hmm.
this is a crucial patch for a lot of people. Having
Yeah,
Diva system being implemented in the game, and then obviously the Siege window system, which is something that a lot of people have been looking for. Um, I think the community's been very good about reporting the bugs this time round on the PTR than a lot of our other PTRs. I feel like our community is kind of like really coming together. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't together before, um, but I think a lot more people have come to understand that Star Vault is a small ass studio attempting one of the largest genres and one of the riskiest
yeah.
genres.
That too.
And you'll never see a AAA studio do this type of game style, and yet you have Star Vault attempting it. They have technology that other studios that have more money don't even have.
Yeah.
So I think our community is finally kind of understanding that and kind of being more open and just trying to help with submitting as much of the bugs and exploitive material that's in our game to make it a better overall game to hopefully grow our population. So kudos to our community. Most of you guys, some of you guys are still pieces of shit.
True.
But then we also love you guys because you guys are the villains, and we need villains in every game.
That
So
is true too.
without the villains, the game would be boring as hell. So there's that as well. I might be a villain. I'm not gonna tell you. Maybe this is
Wait
all
and
a
see.
ruse. But
Right?
anyways, let's see here. Fixed bug. If you were knocked off a horse using a lance, you would be able to use the lance on foot. So I only noticed that sometimes that I was able to use the lance while off dismounted. Um, I know it wasn't like a regular bug, but obviously it's probably better that it's fixed anyway. Because I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of stupid to be able to use the lance while unmounted.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. That's cool. Hitting a dead body no longer counts as a successful hit and will cause the same mess penalty as hitting the ground. I
Yep.
don't know about that.
People would hit dead bodies to basically get a quick swing,
Right,
and
right.
so it's good that that happened.
Well, the only reason I say that it's not necessarily a good thing is because, in all realism, a corpse is a corpse, right? It's still a physical object. So if your blade hits the hitbox, right, or the object, it should be considered a physical object, and you should be done with your swing, or or whatnot. I still think, I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted on that one. I think that's
I
like
guess it could add like an interesting aspect to combat that if a dead body is there, you could play off of it.
right.
But I don't know. Part of me it's like I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't care either way.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just like someone could, hold a right swing. If they miss their feint, they can hit it off the body, not get parried or blocked, and then pull up a left swing and get it on you or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right, right. No, it's something definitely to be aware of. But I mean, I think that's a situational. And I don't
Yeah,
think you
it's
should
pretty situational.
be necessarily penalized for attacking it, because it's not like it's always going to be a corpse there to play off of, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still a physical object. You should still be able to hit a
Hmm.
corpse like in real life. I shouldn't just be able to swing right through it, and then my sword just acts like there's nothing there, right? And then
Mm.
I don't know. That's just a personal thing right there.
Yeah, but I also
Uh,
don't know if that's like off of if it means just a body or if that means like pet bodies and all that stuff too.
I think it should be all bodies.
Okay.
Honestly, they're if they're you know okay. Let's just think about this real life right now, right? I shoot you, right? I shoot you. You're dead. You're on the ground. If I shoot you again while you're dead on the ground, should my bullets just go right through you and act like you're just invisible? Or they
No,
should they make a
no,
sound of flesh and give you another hole in your body?
they should. But I mean, that's also the same aspect. Okay, let's go back to the the swinging, and if your hammer hits the wall before while you're charging it up, technically, realistically, you should probably like not be able to full pull back your full swing. So I mean, if we're gonna go off of realisticness in a sense, but I get what you mean though. Like
Right.
I think it could add a certain aspect to the game that isn't all the time. It's every now and then
Right.
that could add another part of skill level to it.
100%. And I think it'd bring another perspective of things to be aware of while in combat. Something that you can play off of, right? Um, we'll have to see how it plays out. I think it's something that should be fixed. It's something that I think I might actually mention to Henrik. Hopefully he's watching. We'll see. But it's also a matter of how the whole community as a full feels about it. Um, if enough people complain that, it's something that shouldn't be a penalty or should be a penalty, I think it all comes down to. So it's just a matter of the community's voice at this point, how it should be and how it shouldn't be. But yeah, less on that, because I feel like we could talk about that for a while.
Oh yeah.
I noticed this one, fixing the issue, allowing to bypass recovery of a failed attack with a block when using click drag input for the block. This allowed players to charge a new attack immediately after missing a swing.
That's a good fix.
Yeah,
That was a good fix.
I think that's a very good fix because I feel like that was kind of one of those exploitive things that people
Yeah.
could do. Like, I mean, it's not comparable, but do you remember the dagger exploit?
Nope, wasn't around for it.
Oh well, shit. You're kind of lucky you did.
Yep.
So there was a situation there where people could pull out a dagger and switch it to, say, a. Let's just go with two-handed warhammer. All right. So it's or what's the slowest weapon in the game?
Isn't that hammer?
I guess it would be a hammer, right? Okay,
A
so
maul, maybe?
whatever. Let's just say the heaviest weapon in the game, right? Let's just do it that way. Because I only use hammers and swords, so I don't really know what else could be slower. But let's just say that is the heaviest weapon in the game that you have in your inventory. You can actually used to be able to equip while spamming the dagger and do a weapon swap. This was before the actual literal weapon swap, right? This is when you had to do it manually. And then it would make it so that your hammer, right, or the heaviest weapon, would be as fast as a dagger. You would spam, like, you would have to drag the dagger and then spam it and then right-click the weapon in your inventory to attach it to your character, and it would be as fast as the dagger would be. Do you remember that? Or was that still before your time? Nope. I think you got disconnected. Shit.
Oh, I got disconnected?
Oh, there you go. You're back, my friend.
Oh, I'm back?
All right.
Oh,
Sorry
God.
about that.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you hear what I said though?
Yeah, I heard everything that you said. When was this?
This was around the Undercroft
Okay,
release.
no, I was not around. I was not around. I'm only about a month old.
Okay, so there was that exploit, and it was crazy. I won't name guilds, but a lot of people were fucking doing it.
Yeah.
I did try to do it once, and I failed, so I just stopped trying. But that has been fixed now, and that's kind of just like one of those things. So I'm happy to see that yet again they're fixing exploitative things that could be used in combat to give people an advantage, especially a veteran player on a new player or someone who doesn't know the exploits. I'm happy to see that those things are being fixed in our game. So
Yeah.
more
I mean,
kudos to Starvault.
I mean, imagine, the new people that joined, especially like during the drops when we had our Twitch drops. If those people joined and that bug was kind of going on, it's something that people probably want to be liking, and who knows if they would be here now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, the same kind of goes for the magic. Is the exact same thing, allowing players to spam spells. bypassing the charge time of a spell. That is crazy. Because we're talking
Yep.
massive DPS.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I wasn't even aware that was a thing, but when I saw that, and I'm like,
Neither did
holy
I.
shit, thank God. Like, holy shit. If people actually did that, I'm sure they got reported for that because that's absolutely ridiculous. But probably nothing happened because it's something that the game developers obviously accepted as a fault in their coding.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they fixed that. That's ridiculous. I'm happy I didn't experience that. I maybe just did and just did not notice. But nevertheless, we don't have to worry about that no more. Come the next patch. There's still one mounted combat bug that I've heard that still is a bug. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you have a bow equipped and you ride on the passenger of someone else's horse, you can shoot your bow off of the back still. It's still an existing bug in this game. Were you aware of that?
In the PTR or in the live?
In the live.
Yeah, in the live, yes, I did know that. I definitely jumped on the back of one of my guys' horses and shot my own guys for funs, but I never actually used it for like actual combat. But yeah, in the live version, I did know that that was a thing.
I want someone to get on the back of someone's horse as a passenger with a lance out, and I want them to tell me if that works. I want to fucking see someone lance somebody off a horse from a passenger while the guy in the front is a mounted archer. I want to see that shit. I think that shit would be so fucking hilarious.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. You get the fire the artillery, and then all of a sudden the big missile comes in and.
Exactly. That shit would be so fucking hilarious and broken. Obviously, they'd probably have to be mounted on a Jotun or something that could do the
Yeah.
carry weight. But yeah, I want to see that shit. That shit would be so fucking broken. I doubt anyone's tried that, but I'm sure it has been used the other way around. I just think it would be hilarious to see a lance going through the primary rider's stomach and then collide with somebody else. I think that shit would be fucking hilarious. This was actually something I thought was interesting because I thought it was annoying as fucking shit when I first went into the new dungeon. The casters move slower
Oh
and
my
shorter
God.
distances.
Yes, I want that so much because when I go in that dungeon, I hate how they chase you so bad.
That shit was so fucking annoying, and they spam you with fireball. Like,
They
bro,
do. It's like fireball, 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 and I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, you can't interrupt them for some reason.
yep. I'm like, bro, fuck off. Like, that shit was so stupid. Like, I actually literally said to my boys when we went in there, and that's the first time I got paintings. I got a shit ton of paintings when I went in there. And I was like, I'm never coming back to this fucking dungeon as long as this is fucking thing. Because, I mean, I had to deal with that with risers before, right? They'd switch to their fucking bows and then
Yeah.
kite back. And I'd either continue taking damage or I'd have to chase them and then pull more risers and have to deal with that shit. And it felt like the exact same situation. And I'm just getting aggro for even more fireball spamming mages. And that shit was ridiculous. So I'm happy that at least they nerfed it a bit. So it's a little bit more manageable. I mean, it is manageable as long as you're competent, but
Yeah.
it was annoying as shit. And obviously, you can't block magic, right? Unless, of course, you have reflect, but that's only one spell. And you're not going to spam magic reflect on yourself all day long.
No.
So I'm happy that at least that's been done. Fixed issue where AI attacks would not trigger a knockback. Okay, cool. Am I excited about it? I don't really care. What are your thoughts on that one?
It's nothing big. It's welcomed, but I mean, it's nothing. It's kind of like on the back burner. Like, okay, cool, right?
Right.
Thanks for fixing it. By not, I mean, because knockback it just adds a little bit something different to the combat rotation besides just overheading.
Right. Right. Holy shit. I didn't see this one. Fix multiple death traps in the world where players could get stuck. Dude, that's actually sick in a good way because there's so many times I've traversed on mountains and just gotten stuck and I've had to fill a GM ticket And then the worst one was I actually got chased by fucking zombies, zombie
Oh
bandits, and
no.
I couldn't attack them because my fucking weapon kept on hitting the back of my like where I was. Right, I'm
Yeah.
stuck in a fucking hole, and I had to do stabs at him with a hammer. Right, and that's not gonna do very much damage. Right,
Oh,
so I died one time because of that. So I'm happy that's a fucking thing. Fix the elevator glitch in Undercroft. I remember I showed footage of this live 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I showed footage of this of the Undercroft elevator glitch. That was being used by I think it was one of the GK guilds. I'm not gonna say their name because that's fucked up. But they know who they are. Let's see here. Thank God though. Fuck yeah. Fix missing collision on column and dungeon modules where players could hide inside. I have footage of that. I didn't show it or release it, but some people would actually leash all the mobs and hide in this little area in the dungeon, and then just they would actually go into the wall. They would all go into the wall, and they
jeez.
wouldn't be able to get out of the wall. It was. I'm happy they got rid of that because that was annoying as shit. Some players would purposely get all the mobs, get them stuck in the wall, and it would just be a mobless area of the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
So that's huge. Fix a large hole through a terrain that players jokingly call the portal to Exodus. I think I know where this is.
Yeah, near MK.
Yep, near MK. I think a lot of us have seen the footage on other people's streams. You either go out, and people are going around it, obviously, but that's hilarious. I'm happy they got rid of that because I know there was a Lazy Peons video showing that.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that they saw that and said, okay, fuck, we actually probably should fix this. So fuck yeah, kudos to that. Fix some issues with the south entrance of Mistlar's Vault. I don't give a shit, but awesome. Gore updated for zombies and pigs. Cool.
Actually cool. I actually like the gore on the zombies. I think it brings in the new player experience because when I re-rolled my second character to test it out,
Yeah.
I went into Haven and I was like dismembering fucking zombies and there was just gore everywhere and I was like, this is kind of cool. It's interesting.
You know what?
Like,
We're gonna go to that. We're gonna look at that. I saw you killing zombies. Saw you. Oh, I'm not watching that commercial. Okay, let's continue. I saw on your PTR footage, someone chopped a pig in half.
Oh, didn't see that.
Yeah, someone chopped a pig in half. Fix the bug where you cannot see other players decapitating each other. Okay, so quality of life. Fix an issue where hair was removed from player characters when this. Okay, quality of life. Improve rotation updates that appear smoother. That is going to be nicer for PvP. Mm-hmm. Fix several issues with login server. That's going to be good. I know Hustler's TV's been complaining, but he complains about everything. So
yeah, I've never had an issue with logging into the server. That's the only thing I think.
I haven't either. Occasionally I get disconnected because of high ping, but that's because I'm on the west coast of the U.S.
Oh, I never thought about that because I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah, I get 250 ping, bro.
Oof! I checked my ping because someone showed me to. I think I stick it around 130. So it's not too shabby.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, that's just talking about the siege, which you participated in. I watched that. That was pretty cool. I liked how Nev actually took you to Ultimeki.
Yes.
And my dude, you had no idea what was going on. It was fucking hilarious.
It's so fun.
I was spamming your chat like, go to his chest, go to his torso, get up to it, bro. Like,
dude, I was so encapsulated, whatever that word is, that I was just looking at this thing. I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome, man. Like, this is cool. I want to explore it. I want to see what the moves he does. Because, like, the first time, I knew Ned was going to let me die. The second time, I knew he was healing me, basically, with his GM powers every time I took a hit.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get, like, some cinematic things that were happening, you
Yeah.
know. So I thought it was really cool. It's one of the dungeons that I was like, wow, I give props to the devs for making this type of dungeon. It looked really good.
Yeah, that's actually the boss that you get the Ogmium. Well, you get an egg off of the killing Ultimeki. You trade that book in for the, or that egg in for the book, the Ogmium lore book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't
That's
even know that.
it's like a 3,000 gold book. The egg itself, the thing, is worth 3,000 gold. Yeah,
Jeez, man.
yeah, yeah. And then I thought it was funny. He spawned an Uzumeki on you, and you're not supposed to get Uzumekis until I think it's part 2. So you're supposed to have players on the left and right side cliffs. I know. Do you remember on the beginning of your first attempt, you went on the left side? Yeah. So those two platforms, during the second area after getting his health down, he starts placing his left hand on the left platform constantly, and each time he does that, he spawns an Uzumeki, and you're supposed to, spurt and then just burn it with that group. You have groups on those like DPS groups on each
Okay.
corner, and then you have your mages get rid of the lava that spawns underneath your feet with water.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a really cool
That's where
mechanic fight.
the
Yeah.
elementalism comes in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then your melee, you have a group in the middle that hits the hands to do damage. And eventually, near the end, the hands are no longer damageable. So they actually change the animation of the hands. So they're like, there's no more lava on them. It's like just like stone. The hands.
Okay.
The chest opens up, and so you start doing damage to the
Ooh.
torso. So what you do is use hammers, and then you start bashing them. Bashing the hands, bash the chest. You don't do technically any damage to the hands when they spawn the Uzumekis on each of the platforms, because eventually during the third phase it starts going left and right, sporadically spawning Uzumekis and then doing the like hitting the ground so that the melee team in the middle can hit the chest. It's a really cool mechanical fight. It's a shame that you didn't get to see the whole fight. It's a shame that you spawned the Uzumeki right on you and then murked your ass. I was like,
I thought it was kind of cool.
I was like, where the fuck did that thing come from? And then I realized, oh, it was fucking Neb, of course.
Yeah.
He probably was tired of watching you hit it with the starter sword, and he's like, man, I'm just gonna let this guy feel a little bit of the mechanics of this because this is getting a little bit out of hand. But yeah, that was funny.
I think it was really awesome. It was really cool seeing something like that.
And then, bro, he spawned that fire tornado. What was that?
Oh, I thought that was an elementalism spell. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, the thing was it was pathing around the front area, around the tower.
Yeah.
It was like an AI with its own pathing. I thought that shit was crazy.
See, I thought that was an elementalism spell. I'm gonna be real honest. I didn't know that. If that's not an elementalism spell, it needs to be.
Yeah.
It really does.
Your stream's not fucking loading for me anymore, bro. I'm done. I'm done with your shit. All right. Well, if you guys want to see it, it's on his stream on Twitch TV. It's ClutchCasters. I'm not showing you. I'm not waiting. I'm not refreshing it. We're moving on. Okay. So actually, back to the siege thing. There was one thing on there that I was a little bit curious about. The timers. So I know you didn't get to see it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Did they say to you specifically, or did you see like exactly any like word of the UI?
No, I was not able to see any UI. I was, the guys in my guild didn't even like they didn't take any screenshots for me or anything like that. So sadly, I wasn't able to show anything.
Yeah.
Because I did want to check it out because it's supposed to be just in your menu. You just press O, go to guild or whatever, and it's supposed to be there. You don't have to go to your guild stone or anything like that.
No shit.
Yeah, so I was really hoping to get some of that, but the guys were pretty infatuated with the siege and whatnot. So.
Gotcha. No, that was a fucking badass siege, but okay, cool. I think we went over the PTR. Did you have any additional comments?
Honestly, I'm just proud that Starvolt and Henrik are putting out the patches like they are.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I know people love this game. I say this all the time. They get really heated and they're upset that the game's not in a better state because, they can see the potential
Hmm.
of what type of game this can do, but you just understand, the team. It's this small indie dev team that may or may not have the best, you know, coding abilities for what they're going at right now,
Hmm.
but they're trying. It's something that they want to do, and they're taking on a huge project. And honestly, I don't think shit talking them is gonna help them.
Hmm.
Just if you feel like you need to take a break, go take a break, man. Unsub, go take a break. Come back in a couple patches to re-enjoy the game.
Yeah,
That's
100%,
what I
man.
want to see.
It's not productive to be negative. I mean, go do something else with your time. If you're being like
Yeah.
just focused negativity on something, you probably got to check your life. And I'm just being straight up honest. There's something wrong. I mean, if you want to spend hours talking shit about something that you literally have zero control over, and it's not gonna change the fact that anything's gonna change necessarily overnight. Um, yeah, check yourself, quit the game, go do something better with your life, go touch some fucking grass. I don't know. My advice, though, to Starvault is just to keep at it what they're doing. I think if as long as they keep pumping out updates at the rate they're going, I can see a large increase in the player base coming back. New I know that they have a marketing program getting set up for the new patch. Yep, that's going to be massive. I would like to see content creators get free key codes to give out during the streams. Not only will it help get viewership for a lot of the content creators, but I definitely believe that letting people at least try the game out would bring a different group of players that we haven't seen yet. I think that this game could get very competitive, given that we attract the correct group of players. Um, I think groups that play Tarkov, for example, would be a really good group to get a hold of. What about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Oof. Like I see the hardcore aspect. I just don't know if they have the customization aspect because personally that's what pulled me in was the customization of the guns.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the hardcore, but
We got
it's
customization
it
and weapon crafting.
yeah. But the weapon crafting isn't what MO1 weapon crafting was. Some of it was useless, but it was still fun. But
Oh yeah.
no, I get it. I get it. It's I would say, I think a few of them would like it, that aspect, but I think it would be a little I think it'll be a little bit of a learning curve for them.
Yep. 100%. 100%. All right. Well, hey. Any other comments you want to make before we end the stream for today?
No, I appreciate you having me on, man. I definitely hope you bring me back, and I hope your future episodes go amazing.
I know. I appreciate you coming by, bro. I know it was kind of last second a little bit here, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you're streaming the big battle of Orda Village.
Yeah.
If you guys want to know specifics, please go check out ClutchCasters' channel on Twitch. He does have VODs on there. A lot of cool content he's been doing on the PTR.
Oh, jeez. Uh, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.